Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Professor Helen, Onyeaka, and good morning, Mr. David Nabena. On today's webinar on Focus on Nigeria, Key Area of Development. Thank you to all of you attending this webinar today with us. We just have 40 minutes, so I'll straight away jump into it. Okay, my first question will be for you, Professor Helen. If one said that Nigeria economic transformation should have at the center agriculture, will you agree with that statement and why?
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with it because food security, or should I say insecurity, is a big issue with lots of people going hungry, you know, and this is not getting any better. So definitely agriculture should be at the forefront of anything we're doing at the moment. Prior to the oil boom, Nigerians were exporting lots of goods. But since we've had the oil, discovered oil, this narrative is changed. So we're now importing. And there's been a major problem with, you know, in terms of terrorism and things happening in Nigeria that has brought about this insecurity in terms of food. Yeah. So definitely.
Okay, there's also, I read a lot of your posts on LinkedIn, and one of your posts you were mentioning about food security, and you spoke about hygiene, you know, and you know, in Nigeria, as many or several countries in sub-Saharan Africa, what brings people back in poverty is out-of-pocket medical expenses, and it's also related to, you know, disease like diarrhea and, you know, hygiene play key part. What if you are to make a recommendation in terms of policy when it comes to food hygiene? What will you say where Nigeria should improve? Which area Nigeria should improve?
Yeah. Now, to be honest, Nigeria is trying, because in the past, I had a seminar and I tried to invite food safety officers to come to the conference. And the response was, oh, food safety is not a problem for the African stomach. We can eat anything and we're okay. So a lot of ignorance in terms of the, you know, the possibilities of, you know, food poisoning. For example, someone goes to restaurants, eats any food, get food poisoning, they'll blame it on someone in the village trying to, you know, get their land. They're not thinking in terms of the hygiene, how was it produced, in terms of the safety. But the good thing now is I heard, you know, they're trying to bring in all the code, the regulatory aspects. There's things going on at the moment now where they're talking about, okay, we need to now have enforcement regulations. So that is the right path if we can keep to it. Because we can't just be, allowing people to produce foods, to sell meat in the market with lots of flies. You know, and I go to conferences and I have food scientists talking about we have grown super bug. That's not a good thing to hear. I mean, in this world, we should expect the meat to be in a refrigerator or something, not exposed for flies to come and perch on it. So hygiene is very important. So we have on this other side food insecurity, but then we'll have food wastage, then we'll have food safety. So they all are linked. So we're going on the right path if we keep to that path of trying to bring regulation. So there'll be inspections, there'll be HACCP be implemented in restaurants and places. We are getting on that right path. And if everyone pulls together, you know, to educate the masses, because education is important. Once everyone understands that, you know, you have to prepare food safely, the cost of preparing food in a non-hygienic manner, once they understand that and they appreciate it, then we're on the right track to go.
Thank you very much, Professor. David, I'm coming to you now. There are a lot of areas of development in Nigeria. It's not only about agriculture. I read a lot of paper by Nigerian economists. One of the key things they keep mentioning is diversification of the Nigerian economy, and you can understand why. Because, you know, oil is constitute most of the government of Nigeria revenue. David, what can you say in terms of diversification? What can Nigeria do to accelerate diversification? We know that Nigeria must diversify its economy. We know that Nigeria will move away from, you know, oil dependence. We all know that. But what keeps the diversification process so slow? In your own opinion, what can be done to accelerate that process?
Okay. I think first of all, if you look at Nigeria economically, Nigeria is a diversified economy. If you look at the services sector, it produces the most activities in Nigeria. Where diversification is a challenge in Nigeria is in terms of revenue. So when it comes to revenue generation, oil accounts for, when we look at the structure of the economy, oil accounts for less than 10% of GDP. But when you look at the revenue aspect, oil accounts for over 70%. So if you look at the structure of Nigeria's GDP and most Western countries, you find it's quite similar. The services sector has grown. The biggest challenge, I think, for Nigeria, and I think many African countries and Southeast Asian countries as well, is the industrialization. So usually there's a development path to from agriculture to manufacturing to services. Now, in the case of Nigeria and many sub-Saharan African countries, we've jumped from manufacturing. So we've moved from agriculture, we skipped manufacturing and industrialization, and we now moved to services. So you see that you find issues like, then we had terms like inclusive growth, we had terms about what growth is versus development. Then you find that, jobless growth, all of these terminologies came as a result of this transitional part where we're jumping manufacturing. And that also links with your first question to Professor Helen as well, the importance of agriculture. Now, what we've seen with the agricultural sector in Nigeria and many West African countries, and even sub-Saharan African countries generally, is that there are many jobs, but they are low-paying jobs. They are also seasonal jobs, and they are not long-term jobs. Unlike what you find in industries, right? What you find in the manufacturing sector, where there are high productivity jobs, more stable and long-term. So the path where we have jumped from agriculture straight to services, and we haven't been able to transform our primary products into intermediate or finished products, I think that's the biggest challenge. So if you look at the structure of our exports, less than 5% is manufactured. Over 98% is on primary products. So diversification in that sense really would mean expanding manufacturing and expanding the industrial sector and expanding the transformation of primary goods, be it in the agricultural sector, hides and skin, textile, whatever it may be, just expanding Nigeria's ability to transform goods from primary to intermediate and finished products.
Thank you for your answer. I'm still with you. I was making some research and then I found out that infrastructure development, when I say infrastructure, it might be physical infrastructure, road, energy, also soft infrastructure, is key to catalyze Nigerian economic transformation. Yes. And then a report mentioned that, Nigerian infrastructure financing gap per year is around $28 to $30 billion. Right now, the government only put in about 20% of that amount. Indeed, the private sector should step in. My question to you is, what can be done to put the private sector, get the private sector involved when it comes to infrastructure development? Clearly, in Nigeria, if it's built a lot of road, it can benefit even within the African continental free trade area. So again, what can be done to get the private sector much more involved than they are? Because the Nigerian vice president mentioned during one of his speech the other day, last month, I think, that part of the problem is that within the different government division that handle, for example, public-private partnership, the private sector are not aware who does what. There should be a clarification. But besides that, what can be done to get the private sector more involved in infrastructure development in Nigeria?
That's a very good question. But I have a very simple answer for you. Nigeria's problem is not a technical issue. It's not also a policy issue. It's political, right? One, how do we ensure political stability? How do we ensure there's trust, that the private sector trusts that the system will be efficient for them to make profit, right? All you need to do is put the right laws in place, provide the right incentives, provide the right environment, and you do not even need to incentivize them. There are lots of opportunities in Nigeria. You already mentioned the infrastructure gap. There are many gaps in the power sector, in the road sector, in the rail sector, healthcare, agriculture. There are lots of opportunities for private sector growth. What they need is a stable environment that they can trust the government, And 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, there will be no policy somersault. That's one, political stability. The other one is corruption. How do we ensure that we remove red tapes? We ensure that businesses can thrive, they can register their businesses, they can pay their taxes easily, they can get their tax clearance certificate easily, they can get regulatory permits easily, they can get certification easily. How do we cut down multiple taxation? Now we run a federal system in Nigeria where you have the federal government, you have the state government, and you have the local governments, all of them with their tax powers. How can we ensure that taxes are consolidated? How do we ensure that taxes are codified, that they're also transparent, that they're just one collecting agency? Unlike you find in many countries where you just have one tax authority. In Nigeria, you have the Federal Tax Authority, you have 36 boards of internal revenue services for 36 states. You also have local governments as well, 774, who also have their tax power. How can we consolidate taxes? How can we consolidate regulations? Because when you have 36 states, you have 36 jurisdictions, and perhaps 36 regulations. So for a major business that would have services or even its value chain cutting across different states, how can it ensure that its value chain process, all of its processes are streamlined and there's just one unified system that it operates rather than operating independently across 36 states? I think those are some of the issues we face in Nigeria. Political stability, reduction in corruption, red tape, consolidating taxes, and also improving business environment generally. I think once we do some of these things, and it would take mainly political action, right? All of the gaps really will be taken by the private sector.
Thank you so much. Welcome, Professor Ikechi. Professor Ikechi just joined us now. While you're preparing for your presentation, I know you want to do a quick presentation. If you can keep your presentation below 5 minutes, that would be fantastic. Professor Ikechi, can you hear me?
I'll try, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Please,
you, my fellow
go ahead.
panelists as well. Okay. Oh, you want me to present? Do I share my slides or do I?
Yes, feel welcome to share your slides.
Okay.
If you can keep it within 5 minutes, that would be fine.
Yeah, I'll try very.
Hugh, while Ikechi is uploading his slide, I'd like to know what David thinks about the electricity situation, because I don't believe any country can function very well if basic necessity like electricity is not even guaranteed.
Right.
So I just want to have his input because I like what he says.
I think, yeah, you want to have the input of me or Dr. Professor Ikechi?
No, David, I want to see, because David's infrastructure is not a problem. So I want to see what he has to say to that. What are we doing? If infrastructure is not a problem, what are we doing in terms of electricity?
David, I also want to hear about renewable energy. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't say infrastructure isn't that problem. What I said was the technical bits, policies aren't our problem. Our problems are political. Now, what we've seen with the power sector is that we have three segments. You have the generating companies or generating segment. So if you think about it at the value chain, generating arm, you have the transmission arm, and you have the distribution arm. And what happens is that generating companies sign power purchase agreements with the transmission company to supply it electricity. And the transmission companies also would sell to the distribution companies. Now, the challenge is that government is in the middle, supposedly to create some form of stability. But the challenge is that government isn't very efficient, right? And it comes back to some of the concerns I raised earlier. If government is in the middle of generation and distribution and government inefficiency continues, how do we ensure that the generating companies are able to perform, are able to expand? Even and if you think about the portfolio of the private sector is a lot larger than the government in Nigeria. Our tax to GDP is less than 5%, right? Lower than the sub-Saharan African average of 15%. So how can you keep such a small portfolio in the middle? And that sort of constrains how far generating companies can go. and how distribution companies can go. And it's the same for renewable energy as well. And one of what we have proposed is to ensure that we try to decentralize electricity generation. So rather than pushing all of the electricity to the national grid, can we have regions where once they can generate and distribute within the regions where they generate power, rather than taking it to the national grid? Because once you have to always sign a power purchase agreement and all of what you generate goes to the transmission company, then it sort of limits. So you might find situations where you find a generating company in an area, and that area might not have electricity because they have to send all of the electricity generated to the transmission company. So one of the resolutions really around that has been to decentralize rather than centralizing power transmission. We should go to decentralize it. And if you look at renewable energy growth as well, that has also been limited because the policies and the laws we have in place have ensured that renewable energy only takes place outside the national grid. So just like you have the map of Nigeria, you have also a coverage of the national grid. Renewable energy is supposedly to cover areas outside the national grid. And of course, less than 1 megawatt.
Can
so
I
those
ask
are the challenges.
Yeah, can I just ask you something? Do you think privatization is being okay in this case, or is it being something that didn't work at all? Because I think trying to privatize that led to all the mess we have at the moment. I don't know.
Well, privatization hasn't been efficient because it hasn't gotten us the results we want.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Professor Helen, I think what David is saying is that, correct me if I'm wrong, David, we should, in addition to, we should have off-grid solutions,
yes,
like renewable energy that the private sector can step in along with the government, having the grid monopoly, having all the grid, but off-grid solution also should be encouraged. Am I correct, David?
Yes, off-grid solutions, not just for renewable energy, but for non-renewable energy as well. Because the system as it is inefficient. You find a situation where generating companies might be generating more energy, but because the transmission company managed by the government with limited financial resources is unable to take that power, you find that there are many losses along the value chain. But if they're able to have off-grid system, decentralized system, then whatever they generate, they also create a process to ensure that as they generate, they're able to distribute and earn revenues to expand the sector.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Helen. Thank you, David. Professor Ikechi, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you see my slides?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Yeah, key areas of development in Nigeria, agriculture a priority. Before I unleash what I have here, I just want to appreciate the ABiQ. I first featured them in this webinar series during the COVID, and Dr. Hugh was also one of the panelists. I wish to appreciate all the panelists as well. And yeah.
Thank you.
Now, a historical perspective, we need to understand that Nigeria has got amalgamated in 1914 by British colonialists, and of course that's historical aspect. And one of my colleagues, I respect him a lot. He's a professor and also the executive director of Nigeria's National Agriculture Extension Research Liaison Services. His findings agreed with mine regarding the increasing hourly birth rate, which is 850 babies, hourly mortality rate 280%, and hourly population increase 570%. Now, because of time, you can see some of these historical perspectives and recent projections and facts are already highlighted. Of course, we know that life expectancy is approximately 47 years. Women have higher, they're 72, while males are 70. And then, of course, the GDP growth rate in Nigeria averaged approximately 1% from 2010 till date. And this is the map which elucidates the agro-ecological zones of Nigeria, ranging from Sahel arid to humid forests. And of course, we know that we have 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, which are northwest, northeast, north central, southeast, southwest, and south-south. And then a mirror into Nigeria's agriculture sector. Nigerian Bureau of Statistics figures tells us that Nigeria's agriculture sector employs about 70% of the working population, which is quite significant. And the sector has sustained about 86% of Nigerians' rural households, and also is a larger contributor to the largest contributor to the livelihoods of rural dwellers, because their occupation is primarily agriculture. And then also it has about 90% landmass of 91 million hectares, which are arable. And okay, now in continuation, River Niger passes through Nigeria and drains average of, you may be saying, why am I talking about all of this? Because they touch on the agriculture sector. Now let's look at the National Development Plan, which looks at, like projecting from 2021 to 2025. And then the National Development Plan, which succeeded the Vision 2020, and the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, both expired in 2020, which bridges Nigeria to on a long-term plan basis. And then, of course, its vision is to make Nigeria a country that has unlocked its potential in all sectors of the economy for a sustainable, holistic, and inclusive economic development. Then the broad goals of the NDP, the first one is economic diversification, investment in infrastructure, security, and good governance, educated and healthy population, poverty alleviation, and economic and social development across states. Yeah, Professor Helen's question on power touched on infrastructure, which is electricity. And then also the goals are structured around these cluster areas, economic growth and development, infrastructure, public administration, human capital development, social development, regional development, plan implementation. And then we can see a cross-section of Nigeria's presidents who have also tried in their own bits. And you can even look at some of their policies that touches on agriculture. We will give kudos to Obasanjo. During this time was when the Operation Feed the Nation and Green Revolution was spearheaded. So this way, the other way, that way. So which way Nigeria? Potential opportunities for Nigeria's agriculture sector in transforming the economy as Nigeria pushes to achieve substantial measures in the broad objectives of the NDP. Agriculture is also one sector that could help to achieve diversification. And we can see that, of course, the agriculture sector that we are talking about is broadly comprised of crops, livestock, fisheries, and forestry. And then, the components are also highlighted. Then, in addition, the sector employs more than 36% of the labor force. And of course, Nigeria's agricultural trade deficit has continued to widen amidst government push for self-sufficiency in the sector. And I had to look at Nigeria's agribusiness sector in reaching some $1 billion. And this is actually, Africa figures. And then the role of youths, because the youths are major players in driving transformation in the agriculture sector, and of course, which will trickle or translate into economic development. Then Africa harbors the youngest population worldwide in terms of average age, and 70% of sub-Saharan Africa's population being under the age of 20 and 30. However, the dire employment situation hinders the continent to fully incorporate the potential of the energetic workforce, creating a fruitful ground for youth employment. Now, this was a research I carried out with one of my colleagues, Arania Isuku, at the River State University. We looked at growing the Nigerian economy and, of course, youth's involvement. And we also looked at Nigeria hasn't witnessed a decline over the years as a result of fall in the global oil prices. And Youthful Development Initiative was also a holistic approach, which have already been designed by our research to resolve some of these problems. And the government, we recommended that they should strengthen existing institutions, which of course will help human capital development, creating a platform and environment to enable young entrepreneurs, which are agripreneurs as well, and building up businesses and providing critical solutions to the many existing economic problems. And then the problems of agriculture in Nigeria is that some of them are structural problems, but some major constraints in the agriculture sector are lack of access to finance, resource shortages, insecurity, outdated system of agriculture, and insufficient supply to meet population growth and food demand. Of course, the demand for food is not commensurate with the supplies. And then somebody posted on social media, I'm tired of hearing the problem of Nigeria in this and that. I need to hear about the solution to Nigeria. And that made me to look at possible solutions and recommendations. And of course, stakeholders believe that government needs to work more strategically to improve its infrastructure and make the operating environment conducive to achieve its objectives in key developmental areas that's already highlighted. We can see some of the technological solutions which we need to also incorporate in Nigeria's agriculture in order to have the issue of food insecurity. And of course, that's talks on AI. Anyway, that's discussion for another day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Ikechi. My key takeaway from what you said is that the Nigeria vision or national development plan has three main pillars: a healthy economy, good governance, and sustainable development. That's my key takeaway. I'm also aware of the research that you did indeed on young, where you spoke about something that I like a lot. You spoke about the necessity of Nigeria getting young people involved in agriculture. And somewhere you spoke about making Nigeria agriculture sexy to attract young people. How can we make Nigeria agriculture sexy to attract young people? Sexy in quote, of course.
Yeah, I understand that word very well. While I was in South Africa running my postdoctoral research fellowship, that word was, in fact, it was the first time I heard that word from the young South Africans I was trying to build capacity with. And I developed a concept personally. I don't know how I came about that, but it has to do with brain reengineering. Brain reengineering is a concept which is a bit comprehensive because it's trying to explain that the youths are tired. They are tired of seeing drudgery. They are tired of seeing what their parents and foreparents, how they, spent a lot of time in the field under the sun, under stressful conditions, and they come back fainting. So brain reengineering has to do with changing their perception because they have a wrong perception about agriculture. And of course, to tell them that this is what agriculture offers. So they are what they want to see is a scientific and technologically driven agriculture. That will, trying to rebrand agriculture. That's the whole idea of my my initiative. And Dr. Beatrice Bishop, a German woman who developed a pets foreign policy ecosystem. PET stands for Policy, Economy, Technology, and Society. It's an acronym, actually. And I had to populate that acronym. It's a template, it's a framework, which tells us that African youth, especially for farmers, and we are trying that initiative, we are trying that framework at Kavala International University, where we have also tried to apply for funding for these youths, because the youths are they are major key players in driving transformation, not just in the agriculture sector, in the entire sector. And they are working. We are working assiduously to see that every aspect of this concept is well laid out and enforced as well. So we are also we have proposed that to some governments already. And the Eastern African region, they are trying to adopt that strategy. Let me stop here because there are really a lot.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Always happy to hear from you. Professor Helen, I just want to come back to you and ask you a very important question to me. A research shows that up to 80% of economic growth in the US during the last 100+ years are down to technological innovation or technological development.
Yeah.
And now, my question to you, Dr. Professor, is, in your view, what role can play technological development in food security in Nigeria? What I mean by that is, what role can technological development play in strengthening food security in Nigeria, in your own opinion?
My opinion, number one, it would be to encourage mechanized farming, because, you have very local farmers, we need to make it big, mechanized farming, number one. And the second thing also I think we need to work on is in terms of food preservation. There's a lot of wastage going on. And also being able to, even the food waste, we can valorize it to produce products that are of interest. Like right at the University of Birmingham, I'm doing lots of research and work on, valorization of waste from coffee, from cocoa bean, and this will bring new technologies and techniques. In terms of food preservation, going back to that is so important because we have these farmers, they make food, then how do you preserve it? So preservation is something that we can look at ways that food can be preserved for longer. And if you don't have electricity to start off with, even if you cook the food and they'll all go bad. So lots of wastage, lots of, and that will encourage foodborne, outbreaks happening. And people are dying, but no one is really paying attention to the importance of food safety. So mechanized farming, making sure that we have, industries that, that can preserve food, and also electricity. I think electricity is key to everything.
Yeah, we keep coming back to electricity. I keep coming back to that because
if we don't have clean water, we don't have electricity. To me, we're not going to be able to function very well until we sort out those basic necessities.
Right.
So electricity is basic. Water, clean water is basic. And once we get that, then we can, move forward.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor. David, I'm coming back to you to ask a question about float away. It's important that we create an environment in Nigeria where which is conducive of technological development.
Yeah. Now,
float away was quite a big success. My question to David is, what did Nigeria do good that float away benefited from that can be replicated in other African countries, meaning Kenya, Cameroon, whatever? What, in your own opinion, what in the environment of Nigeria that created that thing that like Flutterwave, those kind of companies that other countries can also, benefit from, David?
Oh, I think what's going on in Nigeria is not unique to Nigeria. You find that in Kenya, you find in the rise of unicorns.
Yeah.
It's the industry, and it shows you how far you can go in a decentralized system.
Yeah.
And a system where you do not need government support, where you do not need government regulation, where you can exist without some, Professor Helen has mentioned, power, infrastructure, because you find out many of these businesses can operate independently and even in small offices and have systems that are global, that have markets. And I think what's happening in Nigeria with Flutterwave, the rise of the unicorns with the small IT firms, I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. I think we can reach a bigger milestone when we're able to, especially the government is able to strengthen digital penetration, one. The second one is broadband penetration. I think in a few states in Nigeria, like Lagos, maybe Abuja, and a few other states, where you have broadband penetration really moving fast. There are many other cities in Nigeria that haven't been able to do that. Yes, that haven't been able to catch up, where the companies that provide broadband have to pay for right of way. So whenever you have to lay this infrastructure down, you have to lay the pipes, you have to pay right of way fees. Now, in some states in Nigeria, like Kaduna, they have waived that completely. So there's a zero fee to ensure that these broadband systems can be easily implemented, and you can find more and more businesses being able to access these services. I think that's one good way of expanding the industry. Unfortunately, that hasn't been taken by many other states, but it's a process, I think. And at the federal government side, they also put the fee at a flat, I think around 149 naira per meter or so. Very, very low, to ensure that businesses are able to, especially those broadband providers, are able to lay their pipes, they're able to ensure that these services reach not just government ministries, departments and agencies, not just the city centers, but how can we incentivize to ensure that even outside the city centers, businesses can access the services. I think that's one way that these industries have grown significantly. And of course, if you look at the market we have, our financial market, it's always been very traditional. It's just scaling up now, and there are lots of opportunities. Over 200 million people. These companies are able to, bring to close the gap in financial intermediation. There are lots of people who do not have access to financial services, digital services. All of these companies, there's a huge demand, there's a huge market to provide, whether for e-commerce, whether for e-services, government services as well. So I think most of all of these opportunities, these gaps exist in, they've created opportunities for lots of these businesses, these startups to, to make their mark.
Oh, thank you very much. I also think that education can play a key, like Professor Helen was saying. There's a university, for example, in South Africa that all students must take a compulsory course in artificial intelligence, basically learning how to code. And the people who created Flutterwave, another unicorn in Nigeria, I think, graduated from a university where they learn IT and computer science,
Yes.
and they learn how to code. I think also that we can, and Kenya make it compulsory for primary school and secondary school students now to code, like coding. I think this can also help countries like Nigeria, because it's the biggest economy in Africa in terms of quality education, learning how to code. It can also prepare our young people, to take their life, their destiny in charge, not necessarily looking for a job after graduation, maybe create a startup if they know how to code. No, thank you, David. We came to the end of our webinar. Before we close, and I just want to thank you, David, Professor Helen, and Professor Ikechi. If anyone have one last thing to say, please go ahead. Feel free to say before we close.
I've been raising my hand. I've been raising my hand.
Please.
I wanted
after
to...
Dr. Helen can say something, then we close. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to respond to that question because the technological solutions, which has already been highlighted by my fellow panelists, I never knew that Professor Helen had already mentioned about artificial intelligence, because those technological solutions, which are trying to, Nigeria's government is still scratching that. Why am I using that word? They are talking about youth, trying to engage youth, to involve youth in agriculture, but they are not painting that picture very well for them. Why am I saying so? As a university teacher, sometimes I have been faced with challenges of like tough fight, even at the Faculty of Agriculture, where recently I started to speak very authoritatively. The NUC has given us, that autonomy to fine-tune our syllables and all of that, but it's not enough. We need to bring in we need to bring in blockchain technology. We need to bring in Internet of Things, because we are now in the 4th industrial revolution, where cyber systems is the platform for launching out technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. Professor Helen?
Okay, I just wanted to mention something, and I think it's worth mentioning, because a big contributor to food insecurity in Nigeria is violence. So I think we've just talked about every other thing, but we've not mentioned about the bandits we have, the crisis that is going on, the herdsmen going into farms, unauthorized, that is a big issue. So if we're encouraging agriculture, how can we ensure that what they're planting is safe if the herdsmen are allowed to just go into any farm and then destroy what is being planted? So that thing needs to be addressed. So I just wanted to close with that. Yeah.
Now, since you mentioned that, now I want to ask you, because this is ongoing for more than a decade. You know, yeah. I've been reading paper about the economy of Nigeria. I keep on seeing that conflict. Yeah. I'm not saying you have the solution. Maybe Professor Helen, if there's one solution that you can suggest, what would that be?
I think it's with the government. You know, they need to do something about it. People are not just allowed to just wander. They have to have somewhere where they can graze their animal, not just anywhere. You know, they go and destroy, rape women and cause havoc and kill people, and no one is doing anything. So how are we going to progress if we allow things like that to carry on?
Professor Ikechi, you're a specialist on that field. What solution?
Yeah.
Yes, I know he's a professor in agricultural economics. I want him to tell us what one solution, what would that be?
That would be,
Yeah, in my presentation, I captured it as insecurity and insurgency issues. And that type of problem has to be looked down from the root. It has to be gotten to what is actually causing it. It's the issue of job. There's a system which we have tried to develop, not just myself, it's been ongoing. It's called entrepreneurship, the apprenticeship entrepreneurship program. It's actually called Igbo entrepreneurship. Like my tribe, I am from the Igbo extraction from Nigeria, and we are very good in enterprising. And it has already been adopted by the Harvard Business School. If you Google it online, you will see, and even Chichi Okonjo, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo's brother, we have talked about it on how that can also be used as a platform for the entire African region to help to give youth. Some of these are youths. I have experienced it. Even while sometimes when I travel, I meet a lot of them and they are ready to collect, unauthorized tickets, ticketing. They will keep collecting money, and the money in the midnight, they collect like 10,000 naira, sometimes 15,000 naira. I'm telling you. So how will you? So these are issues that touches on job, trying to give them jobs. We need to provide jobs for them from that entrepreneurship program, and we can welcome them. And of course, that will definitely.
Thank you very much. Something I really like about this webinar is what Professor Helen said about electricity. At the end of the day, if you want to strengthen Nigerian manufacturing sector industry, coming down to electricity, we need power. To transform even agricultural product, we need power.
Yeah.
To create jobs that will then, allow young people to have employment and not go into violence, because most of those young people don't have jobs. We need to have power. So I think at the end of the day, at the center of Nigerian manufacturing or economic transformation, electricity will play a key role along with agriculture. That's my main key takeaway of this webinar. Professor Helen, you want to say something before we close?
Yeah, there's something in the question and answer. I think David posed something there. I think we need to address it.
Yes, please go ahead, Professor.
There's something he wrote. If you want to check it out, we need to, let me see, someone called David Smith. Says,
yes.
Yeah, so we need to be able to see how can a success company get this product into Nigeria? It's a very, very good question. I don't think we should ignore it. So I'm in Nigeria presently, so I wouldn't know, but I'm hoping David, I don't know if you're in Nigeria, if you have any comment on that question.
Is David with us still?
Yeah, he's there.
I'm here. I'm just trying to read the question. If you say, how can a success company get this product into Nigeria? So is this like a renewable energy product? If so, then we have the Renewable Energy Agency in Nigeria. I think we've been working with them recently to expand off-grid solutions. If this is a renewable energy company, then perhaps we can have a conversation after this, and perhaps also introduce you to the Renewable Energy Agency in Nigeria. I think they've been doing a fantastic job recently, and their own objective is to expand electrification outside the national grid, where renewable energy is really, really the target to bring in more people to access electricity. So
Yeah.
perhaps after we can have more chat.
Thank you very much, David. Maybe it's an opportunity for me here to say to David that I don't know whether David Smith knows that ABiQ is the platform actually. And if you register on the platform, you have access to virtually all the projects, companies, contacts in Africa. You know, you can have the contact of virtually, you know, all the key players on the renewable energy sector in Nigeria, the contact of the director and stuff like that, the project involved in, how much it costs. You know, ABiQ is like we have projects worth more than 5 trillion in Africa and the Middle East in our platform. So maybe it's an opportunity to register to the ABiQ platform. You can contact me. I can give you the contact of, you know, somebody at ABiQ that can go through the platform with you so that you can have a, you know, knowledge how you can better use it for your business. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for your time. Professor Helen, that was awesome. Always a pleasure, you know, being a webinar where you're in, because I'm learning a lot from you. Professor Ikechi, always a pleasure to having you. David, I know it's our first time to work together, but thank you so much for your time, David. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.